everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So for today's video, I have some Dollar Tree DIY spring decor pieces, and some of these could be very high-end, others can fit everyday decor. I will be linking a bunch of my spring videos and I'll post them up here. Today's video is sponsored by ShopTagger. If you don't know what ShopTagger is, it is an app and Chrome extension that uses clever tech to find you all the best prices, so you never miss a price drop. So it's your own little personal shopping buddy. I use ShopTagger all the time for major purchases or when I have events like baby showers, weddings, birthdays, and I'm buying things in bulk. So let me show you how to use ShopTagger and then we'll get right into the video. On Google Chrome, you're going to want to go on shoptagger.com and click right here to sign up. Once you do, you're going to get this little widget over here. You can shop directly on the ShopTagger website. It's going to list all the stores that are available, or you can just shop on your regular website. I use it on Michael's all the time, and once you pick your item, the little widget is going to pop up. You're going to be able to move it out of your way, left, right, whatever you want, and then click on it. It's going to let you choose when it notifies you. I always pick to notify me of any changes, and then you're going to add it to a list. You can create a list, and this is super simple and keeps things really organized, and it will notify you via text message or email when any changes happen. So these are my items, and like I said, all of these lists keep everything organized and they're shareable, so you can share it with somebody who doesn't know what to get you as a gift. When you're finally ready to make your purchase, it is really cool because it actually searches for coupons for you. So on top of the fact that it's on sale, you're always getting the best possible price. They also recently added a new feature that lets you earn cash back at certain stores, and your funds are payable through PayPal. So be sure to check out ShopTagger. The link will be in my description. And as usual, I hope that you enjoy this video and you stick around by subscribing to this channel, because once you hit subscribe, we instantly become best friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
And please hit that notification bell and make sure you set them to all so you're notified every time I post a video. And let's go ahead and get started. This first one is the easiest one. I'm going to use these little flower pots from Dollar Tree. This one comes in a pack of 3, but I broke one, and some floral foam, and I'm just going to cut that down and hot glue it into place. I have some lavender. This is from Walmart. This is from a previous wreath that I had made for Valentine's last year. So I'm just going to upcycle this and use it for this. I no longer have that wreath, so I took it apart and saved my lavender. I highly recommend you do the same with old floral because you never know when you'll need to pop it into place. Now I'm going to use this LED candle from Dollar Tree. P.S. and by the way, it does not come with batteries, so make sure to pick those up. And this is what it looks like. Dollar Tree now has these foam bunnies. Usually they have little ceramic ones, and I love that these are huge. So I'm going to try the baking soda method. I first saw this on TikTok. I will leave the link below to the original video. McKenna Lee has also done this. So I'm just going to mix up my colors. I'm going to use the color Pueblo and a darker brown to get the shade that I want. And I'm going to make a thick paste first. I don't know if this helped or not, but you'll see the results that I get. Now this baking soda trick is mostly used on glass to make it look like pottery, but since I'm using it on a styrofoam bunny, I went with a thicker paste to try and fill in those little grooves, those little honeycomb looking things. Now I didn't know if this was going to work or not, so in the end I just ended up patting that in to kind of mask the texture that it originally comes with. I don't know if this helped or not, but I did go back in once this dried with a much runnier paste, and I also did that with the smaller foam bunnies. When I set this to dry, I did the same thing that I did with my pumpkins every year, which is use some sort of skewer or wood and put them on floral foam. Now I'm going to thin this out so that I can have a easier consistency to work with. I waited for the first thicker coat to dry completely before going in with my thinner coat, and it looks a whole lot better with the thinner coat, so maybe skip the thicker coat if you're trying this at home. Although I definitely do feel like the thicker coat helped the thinner coat adhere, because on the smaller bunny, it was a little harder to get the color to stick, but I didn't do the thicker coat on the smaller bunny because all of it would have gunked up on the eyes and between the ears, and that would be really hard to get out since it's such a small bunny. This is what they look like when they're dry, and I was really impressed on the texture. It definitely does look like pottery. I hot glued a little bow, and this is what it looks like. I have this little plastic tub from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of the stickers and drill holes at the bottom. Now you can also go ahead and use their little galvanized ones, whatever you have on hand. I use this one because it was really lightweight, but the other ones, the galvanized ones, are much smaller, so it might be the same in weight. Now I'm going to go ahead and sand this so that I can spray paint it. However, spoiler alert, it's still really cold where I'm at, so spray paint really didn't dry well, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. So make sure that you are sanding anything plastic, especially if it's a softer plastic like this that you can bend before you spray paint, or if not, all of the spray paint is eventually going to chip off. See, there's one little side that I missed, and I can see it now on camera. I'm only going to spray paint the front, the sides, and the bottom because the back is really not going to be visible. So this is the color that I chose. And yeah, I probably should have primed this first. This is how it looks, and it looks amazing. I even tried to scratch it up at one point and nothing came off. However, it wasn't completely dry. I decided to first use a paint pen to write Hello Spring, and I should have just kept it in cursive, but here's where I messed up. So eventually I got frustrated. I wiped that down and I decided to try my luck with some stencil. So I measured out the area. So with my Cricut Joy, I created a super simple stencil. I just wrote Hello Spring into different fonts, which is what I was trying to do and failed. And I cut it out using permanent vinyl. Now I wanted to try the Glad press and seal hack because I was trying to avoid the paint lifting. And because this was permanent vinyl and it was so thick, it really wasn't lifting up anything at all. So I wanted to show these little fails in case you've considered trying this at home so that you're, not wasting your time. So I eventually used Cricut vinyl, and that area where the H is where I didn't sand it enough. So as I'm trying to lift this up, you guessed it, some of the paint lifted. Yeah, you can say I was pretty sad, but I was determined to make this work. Did I make it work? Not so much, because I literally just took some of the spray paint and dabbed it on there, which created some texture, but that it is what it is. I should have just kept it red, and I should have just kept my handwriting. For the inside, I'm going to use this floral foam from Dollar Tree, but I'm going to make sure not to cover up those holes. Those holes are there so that when it rains, this thing doesn't get full of water. Now I'm using this floral foam. I ran out of this one and I had to use the one that's meant for natural flowers. I don't recommend this one because it does get really heavy since it absorbs water. But yeah. So I started using some of the Dollar Tree roses. These are my favorite flowers from Dollar Tree. And I'm just shoving them in there. Some in full bouquet, others I just cut down. And I placed it until it created a nice shape. So now that I have this beautiful thing, I'm going to use some ribbon. This isn't from Dollar Tree. I believe I purchased this at Michael's. I have so much ribbon that I don't even know. So I'm going to cut this down. This is going to go behind my arrangement, and I'm going to hot glue it into place. For the top, I created a little bow, and I'm not the best with bows, but the most basic bow is taking a piece of ribbon, gluing it together, and then just kind of layering it. And when you get a desired shape, taking another piece of ribbon and hot gluing that ribbon in the middle to hold those pieces together. If you want a more detailed explanation on how to make bows, check out Olivia's Romantic Design. She is wonderful and makes super extravagant bows all the time. This is probably the only one that I can make until I start practicing. I'm going to hot glue this up top, and then I'm going to take this piece and hot glue the bottom to the back of my arrangement. Because I'm hanging this on a hook, what I do is I cut a little notch in the back so that it doesn't open up. I hate hanging things and the ribbon opening up so you don't see the pattern. If you're scared of that little notch opening, just stitch the ends, and this is what it looks like. This basket in the floral section of Dollar Tree was absolutely perfect for a Michael's dupe. I'm also going to use the weaving set in the hair section. If you don't have this, then an upholstery needle. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take some raffia from Dollar Tree. Of course, these come in a pack of 3, and I'm going to braid this. I have used the same footage in every braid video because I created that many braids when I made all of my raffia DIYs. So braid it down as straight as possible and as tight as possible, and when you get to the end, just tie it off. Now with the needle from the weaving kit, I'm going to take a long piece of raffia, I'm going to twist it up, and I'm going to thread that, and I'm going to use this in place of hot glue. Now the reason I'm using this is because even though I'm really careful, whenever I use hot glue, you can always sort of see it a little bit. So I'm going to create the first loop by sewing these pieces together. Be really patient with this because some of the raffia pieces are stronger than others. So depending on what piece you're using, it might come apart as you're sewing, but it really doesn't take much for this to stay together. So I did this all the way to the end, and then I tied it off with an extra piece of raffia. Now you can keep it as is, but I'm going to take the rest of the braid and I am going to go ahead and create an outside border. For this I am going to use hot glue because this is just to make it look a little thicker and a little bit more like a bunny ear rather than just 2 little things. So for this, you're not going to be able to see the hot glue because this is overlapping the original braid. Just make sure that when you get to the top, you are keeping it nice and tight. If not, you'll have a gap. And then at the bottom, when you're all done with that, you're just going to want to flood the bottom with hot glue so that the braids don't come apart. Hot glue those onto your basket. Now you're going to want to hold it really tight in place until it dries. The trick to getting hot glue projects to not come apart is to not move them once you've set them in a location. So once it's there, keep it there. Or just find another location afterwards and remove the original glue. Now I'm going to use some buttons, which I got at Dollar Tree. Now, I didn't like how light these were, so I used a similar color and I just sponged on. You can also spray paint, but you all saw my spray paint fail because it's so cold outside. So I decided to just, sponge on the color for this one. Figure out where you want the eyes and nose placed before you secure it down with hot glue because, like I said, you're going to end up with a big old mess if you don't. For the little whiskers, I used some Dollar Tree yarn, and I know that the Michaels one is black, but I really love the pastel shades on this. I just really thought it matched my decor a little bit better. So that's it for me. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. And as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will hopefully see you on the next one. Oh, and let me know which one is your favorite, of course.